First of all, in our second reading, first reading, sorry, it was the first reading where Elijah is, he feels like he's had enough. Anybody ever feel that way? This week? Yeah, I feel that way. What did he do? He just he sat down under a tree and said, Lord, it's enough, it's enough. But the Lord said, wake up and eat. And then he took some more rest, and then he woke him up and provided for him again and said, now go. Go on the journey. Keep going. I will give you what you need. I hope we can all hear that message. It's what hopefully we can turn back to over and over again, especially in this coming week. In our gospel, 3 things stood out to me. Okay? Murmuring, all right? Manna in the desert, and the bread of life. Okay, now brace yourself. I'm going to try to weave those together. Ready? Here we go. So, first of all, let's get the context for that manna in the desert, right? Remember where that comes to us? The story of Exodus. Moses had convinced Pharaoh to send the Israelites away. They had packed up everything they had. They just took unleavened bread with them, the little leftovers from their first Passover meal. They go out and they start heading out into the desert. He gets them on the other side of the Red Sea. And then they get into the desert, where they proceed to wander and wander and wander for 40 years. Okay? And then when all of their provisions that they had with them ran out, what did they do? Murmured. They murmured, right? They called out, God, why? Why'd you bring us out here? Why did you take us away? At least in Egypt, we had food to eat. Did you bring us here to starve? So what does God do? Sends them manna. And so they eat, and they get hungry. He sends manna, they eat, they get hungry over and over and over again. Until they got really tired of that, right? So what did they do? Murmured. They murmured again. So what did God do? They were murmuring. It's like, we're sick and tired of this manna stuff. All right? Can we have a little something to go with it? That's what they were murmuring. And so what did God do? What was it? Quail. That's right. He sent them quail. Insert Father Dave's story. Okay. Some of you may recall this story. In 2011, I was given the blessing of having a 2-month sabbatical. And I went to the Holy Land, had a 6-week study program there at Tantur Ecumenical Institute. When you go and have an extended stay like that, you get to do stuff that not all the pilgrims that I've taken over there get to do. For example, we went down into Egypt and went down into the Sinai Desert, and we climbed Mount Moses. And then we came back into Israel, and we were in this area where Scripture scholars really believe this is the trek what the Israelites took. And there was an area, it was so easy to see where the Israelites could have been encamped. There's a really high embankment, and this valley down below, it's like a couple 100 feet. It sloped down into a valley floor, which was, mile wide, I'm not sure. And then it went back up, gentle slope on the other side. And this valley went a long, long ways. So there you could just see the Israelites, imagine them encamped in that valley. So we were up on this embankment up here, and that's where there was a structure where we were able to stay overnight. There were accommodations for us there. Okay? And it was all good. We had a meal, and there was about 25 or so in our group, and we pretty much had the place to ourselves for a while. We found our rooms, and the rooms were like, oh, this is kind of interesting. There are bunk beds in these rooms. Okay? So we're like, okay, well, whatever. We can put up with this for one night. And then 3 busloads of 11, 12, 13-year-olds showed up. And then we went, oh, it's a youth hostel. Oh, joy. And so they proceeded to scream and yell. Yeah, I don't know what age it is, but yeah, the boys' voices were right up there with the girls, all right? Right up there. And the floors of this place were either polished concrete or terrazzo, I'm not sure, but ooh, did the sound bounce off from them, okay? Now, last night I was preaching in my hometown, and I clapped to try to, and then this morning I was using my feet, but my feet hurt, my hands hurt, so I'm going to try this for this homily, because my hands hurt, my feet hurt, but it was sort of like this. Now, multiply that by 75, okay, all right. That was the flip-flops on the floor, okay. Now, did I mention we were in Israel, right? I don't know if you know this, but they take security seriously, okay. So the doors to these rooms were metal doors. Everything else, the sound bounced off from. So imagine steel doors slamming shut. Okay? So this times 75 plus steel doors slamming shut. Okay? See if I can do this without hurting myself. Woo. Okay. So, you got the picture? Until 4:30 in the morning. That's when they finally went to sleep. There was no way we were sleeping through that, okay? So it like they would whack, 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 whack down the hallway, slam some distant doors. Like, oh, it's peaceful. It's silent. Pretty soon, they came back. Whack, 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 slam. All night until 4:30 in the morning. So I get up, as was my custom while I was on this sabbatical, got up at 6 o'clock. I went out to pray. So I went out on the edge of this desert landscape, overlooking this valley where I could picture very vividly where the Israelites were encamped. Okay? And I took this flute with me. And I thought, hopefully this will bring me some peace, because guess what I was doing as I woke up that morning? Murmuring. Murmuring a lot, okay? So I went out to that edge of that wilderness, and I began to play. Except it was more like because that's what I was feeling. Okay. Well, I started playing there. You'll never believe what happened. A covey of quail flew up about 10 yards from me. They were hidden in the rocks. And I started playing, and one of them flew back and came like right where Dan is sitting. It was that close to me. It lit that close to me. I could see it was a bob white quail, the same that we have here. Trust me, I've shot several of them. I know what they look like, okay? That was the 2x4 that God used to hit me over the head with. Stop your murmuring. I've got this. And then it dawned on me, it's one night of sleep. I've been given 6 weeks in this holy land. Let it go. Recognize that I am the bread of life. That's what came to me in that space. I was transformed into complete peace. I hope all of us can, when, I don't know, maybe I'm the only one, that if something happens that catches me off guard, I murmur. I get upset. I complain. Okay? But then I'm starting to get better at this. I remember that God sent me quail. God sends all of us quail. He's going to come and send quail to us again from this altar this morning. He's going to say to us, recognize that I am the bread of life. Those things that you hunger for, those things that upset you, those things that get you riled up, I'm there. I'm with you. I am the bread that will last forever. I am the nourishment that will see you through. Our friend Michael Fitzsimmons was a powerful example of that kind of peacefulness for me. He's one of those people that if he was murmuring, I never saw it. His wife told me his secret. I went and met with her on Friday night. He would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and meditate because that's the spirit hour. Trust me, Native Americans believe the same thing. He would get completely centered, and he believed that Jesus was the bread of life. So I will continually try to follow his example more and more. I think I have a long ways to go, but like I said, I am getting better. I murmur, but then I get it better. I'll give you an example. I just preached this homily last night in Randolph. I'm driving home last night. It was late. I was coming the back way, Florence Boulevard, and right at the entrance to Highway 75 and the exit to Highway 75, I usually just blow by that and come up to Work Street, and I'm home. A car pulled out right in front of me. Did I mention I was on my motorcycle? So I locked up both brakes and ended up about that far from his rear fender, okay? I murmured. I murmured really loudly in my helmet, and I turned and looked at the person, and I kind of was murmuring with my head going up and down, and then I laughed at myself because I realized I was murmuring, and God had just sent me quail. God completely took care of me. He desires the same for each and every one of us. Let us continue to recognize that Jesus is the bread of life, that he desires for us to recognize that he is always with us, that he's right here in each and every one of us to encounter, and he will see us through. Amen.